Hello and welcome to Tête à Tête, France 24's flagship interview show. Our guest today is Al Gore, former US president, and he is the founder and chairman of the Climate Reality Project. Thank you very much, Mr. Gore, for being with us.
Thank you. I'm a former president of the US Senate, former vice president of the country,
That's
just
true.
to clarify.
We'll begin here in Paris. 10 years ago,
Yes.
the climate agreement were signed.
Yeah.
The UN announced that in 2023, global greenhouse gas emissions reached a record high. So is it already too late?
Oh, no, I don't think it's too late. It's late, but not too late. And most of the leading scientists whose judgment and experience I respect say that no, it is not too late. But some damage has already been done, regrettably, some irreversible damage. Many glaciers in Europe, for example. There are many other examples. But the truly catastrophic consequences of the climate crisis can still be forestalled if we act in a timely way.
What is a timely way? Now.
As soon as we possibly can, yes. We have already, at least temporarily, crossed the threshold that was set at the Paris negotiation. We can come back down, but it's already quite late for sure. But look at what else has happened since the Paris Agreement was reached. That year, electricity from solar and wind was cheaper than electricity from new coal plants in only 1% of the world. Now it's cheaper in almost the entire world. We have seen the dramatic decline in the cost of solar electricity by 3/4, wind electricity by even more, batteries by 82%. We're seeing fantastic progress in the clean energy economy and in the other changes that are necessary. Unfortunately, the fossil fuel industry is the wealthiest and most powerful business lobby in the history of the world, and they have been much better at capturing politicians than at capturing emissions, and they have seized effective control of the policymaking process in some countries, partly in my country, I'm sorry to say, but they have also seized an unhealthy degree of influence over the international conferences since the Paris negotiations.
Right. You're here in Paris to kick off like a learning tour for leadership. You're also the backer of Climate Trace, which is a kind of novel watchdog. Do you think that this is the way? Maybe the leadership in some countries and Western countries is not up to the task that you're describing, but do you think that grassroots leadership is something that you can work on?
Yes, for sure. I think that the struggle in many ways is between the best interests of humanity as a whole, on the one hand, and the profitability of this one industry, oil, gas, and coal. Petrochemicals are one of the big markets for the fossil fuel companies as well. They plan to triple plastics production in the next 35 years. We can't see that. It's a direct threat to our health and to the planet's health. And of course, the accumulation of the heat-trapping gases is already pushing temperatures up to dangerous levels, melting the ice, raising the sea level, making the storms stronger, making the droughts worse, mobilizing millions of climate refugees crossing international borders. You know, just to take that last example, we have seen the consequences in Hungary and with the Brexit vote in the UK. We've seen the consequences of a few million climate refugees. The Lancet Commission has predicted 1 billion climate refugees crossing international borders in the rest of this century if we don't take action. But the good news is we know what to do, and we have all the technologies we need to solve this crisis if we can overcome the political and economic power of the fossil fuel business lobby.
Right. In the US, hours after he was sworn in, Donald Trump formally withdrew the United States from the Paris Agreement. He also said, you were talking about the fossil fuel industry, we're going to drill, baby, drill. And I just want to quote the head of the Environmental Protection Agency, Lee Zeldin. He wrote in the Wall Street Journal, quote, "We are driving a dagger through the heart of climate change religion." And the high priest of that religion is probably you.
Well, I think that the grassroots sentiment around the world is that we need to solve the climate crisis. And of course, President Trump came into office determined to serve the interests of the fossil fuel industry. He openly asked them in a public event for $1 billion, in return for which he would make all these policy changes.
And he's doing them. I mean, we don't have the time to list them all, but that's happening.
He is trying to do them. But let me take the one that you mentioned, drill, baby, drill. The oil and gas companies don't want that, because when the supply increases, the price goes down. Many want the price to go down because it's one way to reduce inflation. But he's calling for bringing the price down in a way that the oil and gas companies themselves don't want. If the price is below $50 a barrel, then a lot of the producers say no, they're not going to produce at that price level. So there's some things that he can do, there's some things that are beyond his ability to do. And if you look back at the 4 years he was president the first time, solar energy doubled, coal burning declined, electric vehicle sales expanded dramatically, wind energy, batteries. The renewable energy revolution is unstoppable.
Even by Trump.
Even by Trump, because solar electricity in particular is now by far the cheapest energy in the history of the world. And it's still getting cheaper. And there's no pollution. You don't have a supply chain risk. You don't have a price volatility risk. You have no raw material risk. So it's no wonder that last year, 2024, if you look at all of the new electricity generation installed and built worldwide, what percentage of it was solar and wind? The answer is 93%. And that's because it makes economic sense. The economic tailwinds are pushing this revolution forward. Not fast enough, but it is moving, and countries around the world are understanding that it's in their interests and the interests of their people to get off of fossil fuels and adopt solar and wind and batteries.
So in a nutshell, are you saying that China or even Elon Musk, by producing electric cars, are stronger than all the rollback that Trump is implementing in the US when it comes to climate policies?
Well, it's a struggle. In the case of electric vehicles, sales in Europe last year increased to 28% of electric vehicles, although Teslas have declined 56% for reasons you can probably understand. But I think the market forces are very powerful in driving many of the changes we need. However, we need policy changes as well. Here's one reason why. All around the world, taxpayers are still being forced to subsidize fossil fuel interests. All of the coal plants, 87% of the new coal plants that are planned will never recoup the money that is being spent to build them. Already, coal is priced at less than half of what its true cost is. Because of the political power of this business lobby, they have many political leaders under their thumb.
Including the president.
Well, he's a special case, but yes, I would put him under that thumb, of course.
More globally, are you concerned about democracy in your country? Yes. There are whispers of even a third mandate for Donald Trump. You're saying no, but clearly there is something happening in the US that we haven't seen even in the first term of Donald Trump.
Well, I instinctively said no to the second part of your statement that he might get a third term in violation of our Constitution. I think that is virtually impossible because it requires an amendment to the Constitution, and that is such a difficult and time-consuming process. I think that it's extremely unlikely, and I think he knows that. But of course, he is doing everything he can to try to stop the clean energy revolution, to try to stop electric vehicles and all the rest, because he has this close alliance with the fossil fuel business lobby and the polluters. And it's a struggle between what he's trying to do and what the best interests of the people are.
But are you concerned beyond the climate issues? Are you concerned about the future of democracy in your country? Is it a threat
Yes.
because of all the policies and the way they're implemented?
Yes, I think it is a threat.
What worries you most, for example?
Well, I think that this time he was elected, he came into power with a very mature plan that had been developed by business lobbies under the aegis of the Heritage Foundation, a long-established conservative group in the U.S. And they had this Project 2025, and Donald Trump actively deceived the American people by saying multiple times, I don't even know anything about that, I've never read it, I don't know anything about it, and that was a falsehood. And we know that for sure now because he is very carefully implementing every single part of Project 2025, maybe not every part, but almost every part. And that is to serve the interests of the polluters and those who don't want rules and regulations designed to protect the public. Now, but let me add this. You know, one of the laws of physics that we've all learned in school was for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. We are now seeing a reaction to this massive assault on democracy by President Trump in the form of people rising up in every part of the United States. They're still shaking off the stunning speed with which Trump's minions have begun to implement all these things, but they're fighting back. And you will see some special elections coming up even before 2 years from now. Already the opposition party is scoring surprising victories, surprising to some, because the reaction to Trump's assault on democracy is very, very strong, and it is still building. So don't give up hope on America. Most of us are still determined to ensure the survival of American democracy and the values that France and the United States have shared in common for 2.5 centuries now.
Al Gore, thank you very much for being our guest here on France 24. And thank you all for watching this show.